All right, everybody, welcome to CuePoints, the mobile DJ podcast. My name is Anthony. Alongside me is co-host Will Bruner.
What is up, guys? Are you excited to be here or what?
I'm too excited.
So, I want to start off with just, how did you get me here? Let's start off with that.
How did I get you here?
Yeah, how did you get me here? How are we doing this right now?
I've worked for Will for a little over a year.
Yeah, it's been,
Maybe a year and a half?
Yeah, a year and a half. It's been about 18 months.
And you have a history in radio and broadcasting.
We actually knew each other before we knew each other.
Yeah, let's tell that story first.
All right. So, well, we are currently broadcasting from LIU Post in Brookville, New York, and at WCWP 88.1 FM and WCWP.org. As you can tell, I probably have done that once or twice. So, so I went to school for radio, and I ended up getting a job with JVC Broadcasting, which is currently based in Ronkonkoma, New York. And they had a station, which was 103.9 LI News Radio, which still exists today, inside MacArthur Airport. Cue in Anthony. So Anthony happened to work there. What did you do there?
So I pushed the wheelchairs for the airlines, and the radio station was like right in the baggage claim. So anytime I would go into baggage with the passengers I was pushing, I'd see Will in there.
But we didn't know.
I didn't know him yet.
Yeah, we actually didn't know that we knew each other.
I knew his face.
And then, later on after we met, and we had met because my girlfriend convinced me to run a 5K. And it's not that I don't like to run, but, well, I don't like to run that much.
I don't think anybody
when I don't have
actually
to.
Likes to run.
Or, it's not even that I don't like to run, but I'm running and paying to run. I had to actually pay to enter that, race. But it was for a good cause. It was for ovarian cancer, so that was, really cool. Yeah. So, anyway, I ran the race, and as I'm sure a lot of DJs know, whenever you're in the room and there's speakers, sound, or someone does anything with any inkling towards anything that you do, you somehow gravitate towards that person. So, of course, after we finish the race, I'm somehow... Molly can't find me, who's my girlfriend, because I'm on stage talking Anthony's ear off and just trying to, he has nice equipment, it looks like, and, he's good on the microphone. So in my head, I'm like, I'm going to go talk to this guy and see what else he works for.
As soon as you walked up, I recognized you. Like, I knew your face.
Did we realize it that day? I wasn't sure.
I don't think you knew me.
No, I definitely didn't. When I was in that little bubble,
I don't know if I told you that I recognized you either until later on.
Yeah, I think it was after I made you text me.
Yeah.
Because he actually didn't follow through at first. So I had given him my number, and I said, hey, listen, text me. And he gave me, like, a business card or something that I put in my wallet. And, like, 2 weeks go by, I don't hear from him. And where we left it was that he was really interested in working with me because, he was really just doing his own private events, and he wasn't really working for another company. So I wanted to jump on that. So it took about 2 weeks. I finally reached out to him, and I was like, hey, dude, what's up? I haven't heard from you. And he was like, oh, man, I'm really interested. Sorry, I haven't. So anyway, long story short, he came in, and we ended up finding out we used to work in the same building without even knowing each other. And, a year and a half later, and we actually did the same race this year, that same race. And not only did I run it, but I also co-sponsored it. So it's actually kind of like a cool full circle thing we got going on.
It all came full circle.
And now, Anthony's, my top guy pretty much, and he... I never have any type of not wanting to send him or anything like that. It's just when I know he's on a job, I can just relax and not have to be worried about it at all. And then he comes to me and he says, hey, I want to make a podcast show. And I was like, oh, okay, yeah, I could do that. And this was, by the way, let's just talk about the fact that you didn't remember I was in radio when you asked me. You were like...
It's not that I didn't remember, I just didn't think about it.
That's true.
I didn't think you'd be able to help this much. We're in a professional studio right now.
Yeah,
I never thought this was going to happen.
So, explain how it first started, the grassroots of us talking about it, and we looked up equipment.
Yeah, I went to Will. Well, I didn't actually go to you. I texted you and said, "Hey, I want to start a podcast," and he was like, "Okay, yeah, that sounds cool. I'm in." And we were on Amazon.
Right, we were going to do it out of my Massapequa office, where we have to break down and set up every day.
Yeah,
and. Yeah, so we were looking up different equipment, and then all of a sudden...
I was like, oh, yeah, I could afford this. Yeah,
I was like, well, we could buy that, we could buy this, Because, really, to start a podcast, you need a couple really good microphones and a mixer. However, if you're going to continually, bring in new feeds and do different things that I don't ever like to... is ass a curse? It's not a curse, right? They say it on
No,
radio.
we can say that, yeah.
All right, so I didn't want to half-ass our studio. Not to mention, I didn't also feel like breaking it down every day.
Yeah.
Because if we're doing it out of my office, it's kind of like I got to meet a client. Oh, wait, just kidding. We have to make a podcast now. So
Yeah.
anyway, I was like, wait a second. I went to a radio station. I also work at the school because we do all of their events. So I was like, I'm going to call, the station manager, who's Dan Cox, very good friend. I try to stay on his good side as much as I can. And he was like, no, you can totally do it. So, now we have a real studio and we can really take advantage of the fact that we can make this the best possible, show it could be. And I really think that being in the area that we are, there's a lot of DJs out there. There's a lot of people in the event space.
Yeah, for sure.
And they all have their own stories and they all have, things they're looking forward to, hearing about. And, I feel like the only things really that, and this is more your space, I feel like, than mine, because I don't really get out there as much and listen to these other podcasts and other, shows, or I don't go to the DJ Expo, and I feel like that's really like the special sauce that you're going to bring to it.
Yeah, I mean, I love to be involved in the DJ community.
Mm-hmm.
I make the vlogs on YouTube and everything.
Oh, yes, you do.
And I get a lot of viewers on there, and I get to talk I get to talk to a lot of other DJs, and it's just an awesome community, and this is a great opportunity for us to contribute to it in a way that no one's really doing.
Yeah,
I looked it up. I didn't really see.
I was going to ask you that. Did you look it up before you did? Because I didn't.
Yeah, yep.
Okay.
I did my research. There's really no other mobile DJ podcasts where we're focused on mobile DJing.
I'm sure there's a lot of house and club DJ stuff like that, right?
Of course.
Like I hear them on Sirius XM.
And a lot of that is just mixing.
Right.
They do interviews and everything, but
yeah, it's usually
there's
some
nothing,
European DJ who's like, yeah,
you can't relate to that guy.
I got, I would have more Getta than Swedish House Mafia, who is coming back, by the way. That's going to be exciting.
I know. I'm hyped about that.
That's going to be awesome. But so I thought that was a really intriguing idea, and also as someone who's an MC myself, I have no problem talking. So that was I thought it was a cool idea, man, and here we are. Not that long after. I mean, we got this together pretty quick.
Yeah.
I definitely think that.
I think I told you about it 2 or 3 weeks ago.
Yeah, I don't like to mess around, man. Let's just get it going. Let's just figure it out.
Within that span of time, we had a studio. We had the topics to talk about. We knew what direction we were going. So, big kudos to you for help, and thank you to LIU for
thank you for having us and letting me back in the building. And they changed the locks a few times, but I'm really good at unlocking
they couldn't keep
other
them
people's
out
hearts. No, they couldn't keep me out. So I want to start off, and when I say I want to start off, there are no cue points in front of me, no pun intended. I have no, we kind of made a Google sheet, and I said let's talk about some stuff, and we kind of went back and forth. But I just want to. How did you get into DJing? And the reason I asked that, and I don't have you ask me, is because I have a passion for business, and my business always comes first before my mixing and everything like that. You have such a passion for the music, and I see it at every event you do, so I'm sure that you can relate to a lot of people listening. How did you get into DJing and music itself?
Yeah, so I've always sort of been into music. In elementary school, I played the tuba. I never really did anything instrumental-wise after that, but I was always really into music. I listened to a lot of punk and a little bit of hip-hop. And then I went to a Sweet 16, and I saw the DJ, and I was like, man, that's got to be a cool job. They get to party every weekend. It just looked like the best time in the world.
Yeah.
So I thought about it, and I was like, well, I mean, I could probably do that, right? So actually, I got a gift card to Best Buy.
Okay.
And
Shout out to Best Buy.
We are not sponsored by them.
Not yet.
Not yet. So I got the gift card, and I went to Best Buy, and I got this very small mixer. It was maybe the size of a 15-inch laptop.
Okay.
And it hooks up into your iPad, which I had at the time, on the DJ app. And that's how I started learning. I basically taught myself. I never really worked for anybody at that point. I never had a mentor or anything. I just mixed. And then I realized, maybe I'm ready to start doing events and jobs. And I actually, my mom was in the PTA with our local school district.
Shout out to PTAs. We love you.
We love PTAs. And she got me a gig at my local elementary school where I actually went.
Oh, okay.
The first one was a Valentine's Day dance. And it was so embarrassing. I had like home theater speakers that I used. And
man, I am sure 9 out of 10 people listening, I'm sure 10 out of 10 people listening started.
Yeah, everybody starts somewhere, But at the time, I was like, all right, this is a good start, I guess. It was loud enough. So, and the kids didn't really notice. I guess it's good that the first one was for kids because they didn't care what equipment I had.
Right.
And it was really good practice to like interact with them and try to match their energy level because they're bouncing off the walls, running all over the place.
Yeah, of course they are.
But yeah, that was a good start. And then from there, I just invested in equipment, started my own company, Leading Arts Entertainment. Shout out. And yeah, it's just been going up from there.
So you've been doing private events for how many years?
I think this year makes 7.
7 years.
7
okay,
years,
so that's a pretty good amount of time. Yep. So now, however, I know that you have worked pretty hard in the club scene.
Oh yeah.
How did that happen? Because that's totally different.
Well, when I started DJing, I got really into EDM.
Okay.
Electronic dance music, and
if you don't know what EDM is, come on, how'd you find this podcast?
Well, it's yeah, I got really into it. I was listening to a lot of like 128 BPM. I was like
Shout out Pitbull.
Pitbull is the go-to for when you're starting a dance set.
Pitbull saved the dance floor.
I think so.
I think he did. If you can think about it, how many hits have he either featured or he is the main artist? He saved dance music.
And so many people just open up their dance floor with Pitbull. It's like...
Yeah, it's a very repetitious thing. However, he just found a beat that works, and he adds in 3 cities. I've seen this meme. I don't know if you've ever seen it. It's like how to make a Pitbull song, and it's like say a couple words in Spanish, mention 3 different places, and then go Gaiocho or something like that. It's like
Dale.
Yeah, LA, you post LA, New York City. Let's go.
Exactly. Exactly.
But continue.
And there's another meme actually.
Oh.
From the movie We Are Your Friends.
Okay.
It's like 128 is a lifestyle, Mom. I'm not going to get through it. Or like
it's true.
Something like that.
Listen, man, 128 is a good...
It's not just a phase, it's a lifestyle.
It's a way of life, bro.
Exactly.
So anyway, so you're in the club scene, so you're listening to these 128s.
I got so into that type of music. And I was watching all the live sets from like Ultra and Tomorrowland. And I was like, you know what? I could probably do that too.
Have you been to any of those?
I went to Electric Zoo, which is basically our Ultra in New York. And I went to EDC New York and just fell in love. Every experience was just head over heels in love.
Like you wanted to be on that stage.
Absolutely.
I kind of wanted to be on that stage, but also the guy pressing the pyro button.
Oh,
like
yeah.
That guy is... The amount of money they spend on pyro, I mean, they just finally, as a DJ community, we just got sparklers. Like, that's cool and all. We're getting there. They're being banned
Indoor
a lot,
pyro
but
is
they're
definitely
making their way out
raising
there.
the
But
bar.
there's nothing like watching an EZoo or an Ultra or any of those festivals. I mean, they are just on another level. But I'm sure they inspire so many people that
Absolutely.
become DJs because that's what they want to do.
I bet a lot of people that are listening now.
Yeah, actually, I went to school with this guy Mike, and now he's part of a group called One Duo.
Oh, I love One Duo. Yeah.
Okay, I went to high school with him, with the guy Mike, and I mean, they are just living their passion, and they're doing good. And it takes time; it's not an overnight thing, but if you really push yourself, you can really make it happen. So, what's been your favorite venue that you've performed at?
My first actual club gig, believe it or not, was Webster Hall.
Man,
which was huge.
So you don't crawl, you don't walk, you just
I got
you just
thrown
sprint.
right into it.
You just sprint, man.
And the night I was there, Tiesto, which is like the grandfather of EDM,
seriously,
was there. So it was just
what did that feel like?
It was unreal. He went on after my set. I was upstairs in the balcony lounge, and then I came downstairs into the main stage, and I was like hanging out in the back with my friends. And he comes on stage, and I started sweating. Like I was like, oh my god, like this is so cool.
That's. I mean, you
Like,
realize
this is
most
the scene
people
that I'm in right now. Is Tiesto just walked in?
I
Like,
just
that's
don't.
Amazing.
And how did you get that gig?
Actually, I saw an ad on Instagram looking for DJs and promoters.
Okay.
And we'll get into this in another episode probably. But I had a lot of ups and downs in the club scene.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah.
But you threw yourself out there.
Yeah, I put myself out there. I spoke to the promoter, and he was like, yeah, let's get you in here. You have to sell this amount of tickets, and boom, and I did it.
There's a lot of, I would say that's one of the hardest things about getting into the scene is being able to throw yourself out there. Especially being able, not everyone can talk on a microphone. I think that's one of the hardest things to learn in life itself.
Yeah,
is being able to talk in front of a group.
Yeah, that was super hard for me because I have a stuttering problem.
Well, I mean,
I haven't done it that bad yet, but
no, I give you so much credit, man, because Anthony first came into the office and he stuttered, and I didn't know how to approach it because I didn't want to come out and ask and be that guy, like
emceeing a party and then. And
I also don't. Yeah, well, that's not what I was. But I'm saying, I'm not the type of person that's gonna come out and be like, "Hey, bro, by the way, what's up with your mouth, man? Why, I would never do that."
No, I mean,
so
I completely would have understood, but
right. But I did come out and ask, and I was like, "Hey, listen,"
being nice about
and I barely even got out the words, and Anthony was just like, for some reason, and he has a great vlog. What's the YouTube tag, just so they can find your vlogs?
Anthony Garcia DJ vlogs.
You have to watch them, and there's this one that he put up, and he didn't even tell me he put it up, and I found it, and it really was just like really inspiring, and he explained his speech impediment and how it really only happens when it's just a generalized conversation. When he's thinking about the words, it never happens. I remember the Sweet 16s that we have done together. I'm emceeing. I'll walk out the room and I'll leave him with the mic, and he'll be fine.
Yeah, it never happens on the mic. It's astounding.
You would never know. It's really amazing. And but the fact more so, most people have a problem talking in front of groups. Most people have a problem talking in front of a microphone. Take those two things and add in a speech impediment, and it's truly remarkable, man. Like how you put yourself out there, and you only get better, every day.
I'm very lucky to be where I am now, despite that.
Yeah, no, I feel like that's only pushed you harder
to work through it.
Through it. So no, I think that's so cool, and the fact that already on stage with Tiesto, I mean,
that was unbelievable.
I'm sure that kind of was like, I can do this. Like, this is what I want to do.
Oh yeah, I was like, all right, if I'm here tonight with Tiesto,
like if this is my starting night,
my first night in the club scene, I'll make it. Don't worry.
You can. Yeah. What would be your advice to someone who is sitting at home right now and they've got their Mackies on top of their desk and they're blasting the music in their ears and they're putting together samples and they want to get and do the clubs and everything? What would be your advice to them?
I would say don't be shy. You definitely have to just get out there and do it. You just have to get yourself out there
and know your worth. I mean, in the beginning,
absolutely.
In the beginning,
That's
listen,
huge.
you're gonna have to, dust the floors. I'm gonna use that analogy for some reason, but you got to do the groundwork in order to get up there.
Yeah.
However, always know at the end of the day, and this is true because we'll get into this later, but this is something I've learned. At the end of the day, you're still a human being, and you need to be treated with respect. And you're going to have bosses in your life that show you the opposite of that, and they're going to treat you like dirt. And use that. Don't cry. Don't go home. Use it to learn everything not to do. And it will only make you a better person, a better boss, and ex facto, a better DJ. So that's what I would say about
every
that,
experience that you go through leads to motivation and knowing your worth, and
you got to be
being able to put out there what your worth is.
It's a lot of there are so many cliches, but it's really true though. It's like if you just go through life and everything gets handed to you, or you don't have any hiccups, how do you know your true potential? You haven't learned anything. You know what I mean? And you can have a lot of great success, but you need to have some things happen, unfortunately. But they're not unfortunate because they're going to teach you how to become better, how to train your craft, how to, maybe I should bring backup batteries for the microphone for ceremony because, oh, wow, we don't have a microphone at the moment. There are all these little tidbits, and they only come with experience And if you respect the game and you push forward and, you don't come in with this ego, and unfortunately, I mean, we're in a space where everyone thinks they're Tiesto sometimes. Mm-hmm. So, that's always a hard thing to get past.
It's a very saturated market, especially here in Long Island.
And the tri-state area itself. I mean, you're talking, Philly, Connecticut, Jersey, New York City, the Long Island. I mean, it really does add up to a very, very saturated market. But I feel like we've done pretty well as far as coming together, especially on Long Island, trying to build a community of at least people that are able to talk to each other. And that's what this is all about.
Absolutely.
What is your goal from doing this podcast?
I want to, when you listen to this podcast, I want you to either learn something, feel more confident about what you're doing, maybe even give your 2 cents, because we're all over social media.
Yeah, why don't you give those? Give those tags real quick? Where can they find us?
All
Facebook,
over,
Instagram.
It's CuePoints podcast.
CuePoints
all one
podcast,
word.
And that's then
all over
Instagram,
Facebook, Instagram, everything.
CuePoints podcast,
and we're working on the website right now, so that's not up yet. But yeah.
So one thing you would leave the audience with: they've listened to 22 minutes so far, and they're on the fence, and they're not sure. Could this be something I listen to weekly or not? What would be one thing that you would leave them with to assure them that they should be coming back for more?
There is so much ahead of us right now. We are going to talk about everything mobile DJing, and whether you want to learn something or you want to be a part of the conversation, this is the podcast.
This is it, the CuePoints podcast right here, because there's nothing DJs like better than standing in a room in the cocktail hour, and the upstairs DJ and the downstairs DJ are just shooting the breeze, talking about, DJing and just the lifestyle that we happen to live.
Amazing community. Amazing.
CuePoints lifestyle. We'll be back after this.
All right, everybody. Welcome back to CuePoints Mobile DJ Podcast. I'm Anthony, and I am alongside co-host Will.
Yeah, so we need to get a soundboard, by the way. I wanted to get that. I got all my cool little effects.
We'll work on that.
We'll get that. So, we're back here. So, CuePoints Mobile DJ Podcast. Where can they find us?
On all social media, Instagram, Facebook. Actually, we don't have a Twitter.
Do we have a Pinterest?
I lied. No.
So we're not everywhere.
Maybe not all social media. Instagram, Facebook, CuePoints podcast, all one word.
All one word, guys. Yep. So you could find us there. So yeah, so we talked about last segment how Anthony got started, some of his aspirations in the DJ world, and a couple of little quick tidbits for people to keep in mind.
Yeah, we dove in a little bit about like the club scene and everything. Yeah. If you wanted to start there, and we'll get into that in other episodes.
We'll have a little downplay of each of those segments. Absolutely.
But now, in turn, I want to ask you, Will, how did you start?
I'm in the hot seat. All right. So, how did I get into this crazy world? I actually started out on the opposite side. I worked in catering, and I was
I didn't know that about you.
Yeah, I was a captain at a catering hall in Long Island, and I would assist the bride and groom and make sure everything was going well, working alongside the maitre d'. And the house DJ at the time, I was very good friends with, and he was very interested in hiring me. However, the owner of the venue saw it as a conflict of interest because, he didn't want to lose one of his top waiters and to the other side. So I ended up finding a job, actually, on Craigslist and as a DJ. Now, side note, I had never DJ'd before. Ever, at all. I just knew how to talk. And
Were you looking for a DJ job, or
not really? No,
what did you look for on
this was at this point. I was 17, so I just typed in mobile DJ companies looking for hire.
Okay.
And I was just like, let me give it a try. And I was always a very outgoing, adolescent and child. I mean, at 10, I had my own car wash. From at 7, I had a store outside of my front door, and I would buy Entenmann's, cakes. I would sell a bunch of stuff.
You're a natural-born
entrepreneur. I mean, everyone in my family owns their own business, so it was always, for me, business. I never really held a 9-to-5, because what would happen was I would figure out how to do it, and I would try to do it better. And I would figure out, well, if I just took on those expenses, I could make a higher profit than I would be making an hourly wage. And that was kind of what drove me. And when I was working at the catering hall at that time, I had 5 jobs all at the same time. I mean, I was killing it. I mean, as you know, a 16, 17-year-old kid, I mean, I was bringing in really good money. Put it this way, before I even had that job, I sold candy door to door. I was one of those kids with the Coca-Cola crate and selling the Reese's peanut butter cups. You know, shout out Jimmy. And I was like 14 and I was making $300 a week, easy. You know what I mean? I bought 2 cars by the time I was 16. Like, I worked my ass off. We could say ass, so I'm saying it again. I'm going to use the crap out of that word. I did. But anyway, long story short, got into catering, stayed there for about 2 years, and then I was like, let's try this mobile DJ thing. So I go in for the meeting, and I get hired. And I get hired as a DJ making $25 an hour. And they were going to provide me all the equipment. Now, I had never been a DJ, remember, so you would think there would have been some sort of training. Well, there wasn't.
Oh, no.
So I was sent on my first gig, because you always know your first gig. You always know where you started.
I see where this is
going.
going.
So I had 2 beat-to-crap Mackies, and I had a analog mixer with a PC laptop, and virtual DJ, and a small little hard drive, and they sent me out. Basically no training at this point. And I went to a hall on Long Island, and I did a 4-hour communion downstairs. And I mean, it went well. I mean, it didn't go bad. I never really had too many gigs ever go bad or south. Things would happen, but they were mostly not my fault. You know, kids falling off their dad's shoulders when they were drunk on musical chairs.
Oh, boy.
Things like that happening. But anyway, long story short, I took the job, and I started learning. And now when I say learning, I don't mean properly learning. When you learn to DJ, you learn to DJ on a mixer, right? Like, you know, I learned to DJ with a laptop connected to an analog mixer. So there was no scratching. Wow. There wasn't even DJing. It was really just
had to go from one song to another.
I was literally just I was a mobile iPod.
Wow.
That's what and really just using the microphone to, you know, facilitate, you know, the events. So, yeah, so that happened, and about 3 months later, the general manager of that company got fired, and I moved into actually that spot. So I was the head DJ, and granted, I hadn't been DJing more than 6 months at this point. And I put the DJ in air quotes because I look back and I wasn't really a DJ. I was really an iPod, but I was able to talk and put myself through. And I ended up becoming the main DJ, so I took every gig. And I mean, they weren't doing, you know, high-end gigs. So I mean, there would be, you know, weekends where I would pull a double or triple on a Saturday, and then I would have 2 events on. I was doing probably like 8 gigs a week at least.
So you hustled.
Yeah, I hustled, and I was making not great money, but I hustled, and you know, I learned so many things when I worked for that company that taught me so much. Yeah, they were truly invaluable in all the worst ways possible. I mean, moving into not only being the DJ, but I also took care of all the bookings. So learning sales, but it's interesting for me because I was already able to sell. I learned every way not to sell. I learned all the cons. I learned the ways that, you know, really made, you know, a good salesman and a shady salesman. And like, you know, to this day, the guy who I worked for, you know, we don't see eye to eye. I just found out actually that he was really interested in reaching out to me. And, you know, it was an interesting time in my life. I was in a long-term relationship that was a lot of stress. I had this job that was a lot of stress. I mean, it didn't matter if it was 6 a.m. or midnight. If there was a call to the office, it was forwarded to my phone, and I was getting yelled at on the other end. I better book it.
Wow.
Like, that was, like, my life for, like, 2 years.
Now, when you're starting out, I think the knowledge and the experience is way more valuable than money at that point.
Absolutely. You know, I mean, I had a pretty high maintenance girlfriend at the time, so money was definitely important. However, I was doing well enough. I mean, listen, if I'm doing 8 gigs a week, even at $20-$25 an hour, I mean, I'm still making decent money. It's just I'm working my tail off. I'm like literally all I did was work, you know, and we just didn't do just DJs. I would have to do character appearances. I was in the office doing the sales. We sold giveaways, so I was working in the retail aspect. Like we had bounce houses, and you know, you would think, for most people, you would think at this point, like, okay, this is clearly a short-term job. Get out and run.
Yeah.
Don't buy into the business and become his partner. don't buy into his business and become his partner. Clearly, I did that. So I ended up becoming a partner in the business. And that didn't last very long. We ended up having a huge blowout, and I ended up selling my portion of the business, and I stopped DJing altogether. I was so sick of it. I was so sick of the business. The whole fun of it was tainted for me, and all I wanted to do was figure out something else to do. And at this point, again, I didn't have a passion for the DJing. I didn't. I had a passion for business. And it just so happened that this was the business I was in for the last 3 to 4 years, was catering and events and special events. So I stopped doing it. And I went back to, I had other jobs that I knew I could go back to. So I went and started doing other things. And I sold everything. All I had left were 2 crappy little JBL JRX 115s and a 2,000 watt Crown amp. I sold everything else I had. The big lights, the TVs, all of it. And I get a call from a good friend of mine, and he had a DJ company, mostly a casino company, but he did some small DJ events, and it was a mitzvah. And he asked me to MC it. And I told him I didn't want to do it. I can literally remember the conversation. I was in the shower when he called me. And I was just like, dude, I don't want to do it. I have no ambition to do it. And he was like, dude, pays $250. I know you could use the money. So I was like, I really could use the money. So I ended up taking it, and we did the event, and it wasn't bad. I had a good time. And it just so happened the next week, I got a private call from a client of mine that I used to have at the old company. But I did everything for her. I did her Sweet 16. I did her dance stuff. I did everything. And they had a dance coming up at a venue. And she asked me if I could do it. So I said, yeah, I can. And, you normally, if most people that did that, they're just going to take the gig and, take the cash and go.
Right.
No, I went and bought a domain name. And I made a company. And I started facilitating all the things I had to do while doing this. And also I was at the radio station at the time. So I was working at, JVC Broadcasting. So I'm making this all happen. I had a friend that was a lawyer. He started getting me ready to be incorporated.
Oh,
and
wow.
this was in March of 2014. This is when it all kind of started.
So this is where enjoyable entertainment came to life.
It was the premise, yeah. We ended up incorporating in June, but we started getting everything together in I had really crappy contracts. I had the god awful, logo and like Staples business cards. You couldn't have gotten worse. And about 2 days before the event, she calls me, the client, and she's like, "Hey, we want to do a video montage." And I'm like, yeah, no problem, done. And she's like, yeah, we need a TV on a stand. And I was like, easy, no worries. I had no money. I had a stand. I had no TV. So the next day, everyone comes home for dinner like normal. I'm actually going to go work the event. And I got a call from my mom. And she's like, why is the living room TV missing? And that's because it was at the event with me. Because I took it.
I've done that before.
And then the event went great, and I ended up taking that TV, bringing it back, putting it on the wall, and then going to Best Buy with the money I just made and buying a TV. And now that was a service that I could offer and make a profit off of. And that is basically snowballed into how the business started. And for 2 years, I didn't take a single paycheck. Every single dime I made went back into the business. And so that was June of 14 is when we incorporated, so we're going on our 5th year in business, and we have 5 trucks. We've got, more equipment than I know where to store. We have an office. We have a warehouse. We have a second warehouse out east, and the most important thing to me is, such an incredible staff, and I try to really push that, and I feel like a lot of people take advantage of how good the people that work with them around them are, because I'm one man. I can only do one party at a time. And for us to become a real legitimate company, we need to be able to service multiple people at the same time. And I couldn't do that without an incredible staff, and you, and guys like Chris, and guys like Mike, are so invaluable. And to me, if you don't show the people who work with you, and not for you, that's really important. You work with me. You work for me, but that doesn't need to be reiterated. We both know that. But you work with me. Because we're a team, and the people that try to, be high and mighty, and again, it goes back to the ego we talked about earlier. If you lead that way, you are only leading yourself to failure. So, we do a fun Christmas party, and I make sure you guys all know how appreciated you are, and you get compensated correctly, and all those things have really made us be able to prosper and continue to grow. And I mean, honestly, I'm living, shout out Mike's situation. I'm living my best life. You know what I mean? I really am. I have a great family. I have a great girlfriend now. I have a great, company that does well, and everybody's making money. Everybody's happy. And at the end of the day, I say this all the time because I meet a lot of people in networking and stuff like that. The greatest part of being an entrepreneur is putting money in people's pockets. There's nothing that brings me more joy than putting money in your pocket and in everybody else's pockets, because it's such a cool feeling being able to do that. And at the end of the day, if there's something for me to take home, that's so that is and then I guess I'll summarize it real quick, and just to make it full circle, that guy who gave me my first MC job after I left, shout out Sean, I ended up buying his company in 2015. So I bought a casino company, added that onto my company. So like we were talking about earlier with, going full circle, that kind of happened too. So I'm sure there was some things in there you didn't even know.
Yeah, no.
So that's
I learned a little bit from you just now. And just to add to what you were just saying, one of the first things you said to me was, I'm going to take care of you.
Right.
Like, I'm not selfish. Like,
yeah.
You'll make what you deserve and all that.
Exactly, yeah.
So since day one.
Yeah, dude. But that's why you're here. You know what I mean? It's like there are so many easy ways, and that was something I learned from that first job. Is, other people are so worried about making that extra $50. Cutting you out, or we're not giving you the tip. Like, there are companies who actually take the tips from the client and don't give them to the people who worked for it.
Yeah, that's not.
You know
right.
what I mean?
That's not how you treat your guys.
But that's how a lot of people do, and that's why they don't grow the way that we've been growing. Is because I want everyone to wake up on the weekend and be like, oh, I got a gig tonight. We're gonna kill it. We're gonna do awesome. The couple's gonna be happy. We're gonna be happy. Hopefully we'll get a great tip, and the people on the dance floor will enjoy themselves. And and at the end of the day, you're loving what you do. And if I'm gonna stand here and stunt the growth of what your potential is, when this is what you want to do, you know what I mean? This isn't like it's a lot of people, they have other jobs, they do other things, but like when you're in this space and you're committed to this space, this is your baby. And to be gig-based is very difficult, especially here on Long Island. I mean, we're in the second most expensive area in the country. Mm-hmm. You have to love what you do, or else why are you doing it?
Yeah.
And I really see that from you is the true passion that you have. And I feel like that passion ended up leading us in to why we, CuePoints podcast is, coming to life.
Yeah, this job, the mobile DJ job is supposed to be fun.
Yeah.
Right? If you're not having fun, the party goers are going to see that.
Right.
They feed off of our energy.
Yep. Absolutely.
So if you're not having fun, you're not being treated right, the business is not going to thrive.
And the most amazing thing is that, people tend to think it's such a cutthroat business because it's so saturated. It's so saturated because the island's so saturated. We do these wedding showcases or any of these things, and I hear, oh man, you must be so mad that there's other DJs here. I'm like, no, I'm not. The greatest thing about capitalism is competition. Mm-hmm. It really is, because it makes everyone be the best they possibly can. And if you're not going to be in business too much longer. And it goes back to how you treat your guys. So when we do these shows, I've got plenty of friends that have companies, and people ask, oh, what do you think of them? They're a good company. It's going to come down to the personality. What do do you like him, or do you like him, or do you like us?
Yeah,
And
you would think that everybody would be at each other's throats and everything, but
some people are. But those are the people who usually don't stick around.
Right.
If you have respect and you're a legitimate company, you don't trash talk other people. If someone's gonna implode, let them do it themselves. Because I wouldn't want to go to someone who's throwing dirt at somebody else. You know what I mean? If I get asked, I answer honestly, but I'm always respectful. What do you think of this company? I think this company does good work. I think that we might have an edge over them for said reason, but they do great work. And I'm not going to trash talk anyone or any venue or anything like that, because it doesn't make you look good when you trash people. It doesn't. So, that would be another thing that I really tell people, when they're getting into this space or any space. don't crap where you eat. You know, you see what I did there? I didn't curse. See that? But yeah, so we got a couple minutes left. I want you to give kind of a preview of what you see, where you see this going as far as different topics and different ideas and things that you want to bring to the table that are going to make this, you know, listen worthy for the DJs out there and the avid event goer that would be interested in this.
We literally want to cover everything in the mobile DJ space. We eventually are going to do interviews with other mobile DJs, with the top names in the industry, with manufacturers of the equipment that we use. We are going to talk about all sorts of different topics that are going to help you further your career, learn from us and other mobile DJs.
Yeah, at the end of the day, this is really a relationship business.
Absolutely.
Whether it's with the client, with your employee/employer, with the manufacturers, with the people, you know, that you come into contact with daily. You know, it really, to your mechanic who works on your trucks that want to break down.
Yeah.
You know, they,
like you said before, like you knew the lawyer. Your friend was the lawyer
Right.
who helped you get started.
Yep.
Not just this business, but specifically in this business, having relationships and being friends with everybody will do nothing but benefit you.
It comes down to that cliche, you know a guy. I know a guy that knows literally anybody. Like, if someone comes to me, I always joke around and I say, you know, when I'm meeting with a bride and groom or something like that, I'll be like, listen, we do everything. And they're like, what does that mean? And I'll be like, well, if you want a bounce house in your ceremony, no problem. You want a fire dancer at your reception, you got it. You know, we make it happen. And if I don't have it, I'm sure a buddy of mine in the industry does. And if he doesn't have it, I know I know someone that does. And if not, I'll go out and find it. Because that's what we're about. We're about making connections, building relationships, and making people remember, you know, special days in their lives. Like, we have the coolest job. Seriously, like, no BS, we have the coolest job. We literally go to parties and help people remember awesome days of their lives, their weddings, their anniversaries.
It's one of the most important days of their entire life, and we're there to make it
and like the coolest thing, and this is just starting to happen for me, but I know a lot of people, you know, that have been in the industry 20 years and everything really see, is like, if you do someone's wedding, and then all of a sudden you do their kid's first birthday, and then I know so many people who could say, I've done that girl's Sweet 16 and her wedding. Like, you were part of their life for such important parts without even being a member of their family. And I have so many clients that I have such close relationships with that I talk to regularly.
Yeah, that's what ends up happening.
And not because we have events, not because they're paying me, just because you make, you know, lifelong friendships with people. And I don't think you could find a cooler industry that could, you know, that you could choose to do. So once again, give us where they could find us, you know, what we're all about. CuePoints Podcast, where can they find us, Anthony?
So far, not all social media, Instagram and Facebook, CuePoints Podcast, all one word. We're working on the website. We're looking to do all sorts of giveaways and looking for, you know, some suggestions from you guys. So once we get that website up, we'll be able to accomplish that.
Yeah, and if you're interested, tell them.
You could always reach out to us on our Facebook and Instagram. Send a DM.
Slide in, baby. Slide
into
there.
those DMs.
I'm really excited. So how do you think the first show went? You like it?
Very well.
All right.
Very well. I think we have a lot more to talk about.
Oh yeah, I'm certainly not done talking.
I don't think this is one of those shows that, you know, after the first couple episodes, you don't really have anything to talk about anymore. I think
we'll figure it out.
There's so much that we can dive into.
CuePoints Podcast, baby. CuePoints Podcast. Catch us here. We will be back pretty soon with another episode of the
CuePoints Podcast.
Let's go, baby.